Greetings, Tony from Olde River Hard Goods again. Today we're going to be taking a look at the interesting world of hand forged tools. Now, all tools were hand forged up until the middle part of the 1800s or so when factory systems came into play, but the examples we're going to be looking at today are blacksmith art, including some really neat tools that were made from old files. So sit back and enjoy. Here we have an example of a hand-forged anthracite coal mining bit. These were used to bore holes into the anthracite coal seams, which were then cleaned out, packed with explosives, and then boom bang to loosen the coal. See how the tip is forged out there. And the tang is slightly rectangular on this and tapered. This goes into a long iron brace. Usually they're at least 3-4, I've seen them even 5-6 feet long. They get deep into the seam. And this one's got the usual patina, but not a pretty tool, but it wasn't made to do a pretty job either. One of the hand-forged tools that I've sold a lot of over the years, of course, are axes. This one was made by H. Stricker. He was from Vinemount, PA, which is located in Berks County, and he worked from 1884 until 1896. This has a wrought iron body, as usual with these guys, and there's a steel cutting bit here. You can see a little bit on this side. Of course, this one got well used, and the pole's pretty well banged up. Shot around the eye. And you can see a little bit of the forge weld line here where the two pieces were put together, and then there's a little bit of a spacer in there as well to form the back of the eye. And here you can see the steel bit a little better on this side. But these are good, solid, collectible tools. Here we have a pair of hand-forged, blacksmith-made dividers calipers. The upper one's about 11 inches long. The smaller outside one is a little under 6 inches. The upper one's kind of unique because it was made to scribe a circle inside of a circle, probably for cooper's use or possibly making sash windows. Original wing nut, although that was moved at some point from the other side. That does happen a lot with these guys. But the fine adjuster works. Joint is good. And then this one, fairly heavy tool, you can see. Oops. And the joint's not too bad on this one. It's a little loose, but it still holds position. So, now what's a molding plane doing in a video about hand-forged tools? Well, this particular one, the iron or blade was hand-forged from an old file. You can kind of see the teeth pattern there. And I've sold a lot of tools over the years that were hand-forged from files. I may have mentioned this before, but this one's kind of unique. I've never seen one done like this. Here we have a pair of unusual tools, metalworking tools that were hand-forged from files or rasps. The upper one is a blacksmith cutting hardy. You can see the teeth mark on it. The lower one was really neat. That is a 10 Smith's bench shear. It was forged from pair of old files. That was about 18 inches long, all said and done, and probably a one-of-a-kind tool, to say the least. On the left here is a food chopper that was hand forged from an old rasp or file. It's kind of hard to see the teeth marks from this angle, but they're present, and that's something you don't see very often. And while draw knives made from files are somewhat common, finding nice ones isn't. They usually got used up pretty hard. And this is an example one that I had not too long ago. You can see the teeth pattern on it. Years back, I had a big one that was hand forged from a rasp. I mean, the blade itself had to be 12, 14 inches long. Beautiful, beautiful scaling on it from the rasp teeth, and I called that baby the Dragon. And let me tell you, it was sharp. I cut myself twice just working on it lately. That went out to a friend of mine at a historical site out in the upper Midwest and is still in use today. Here we have a set of 4 hand-forged quilt framing clamps. These were used to secure the rollers on the wooden quilt frames as the ladies worked on them. You can see this one, that's about as far as they close. These guys are all toothed on the pads. And of course the screws themselves are hand forged as well. They show up in sets of 4, but you rarely see 2 sets that are identical to each other. So they are pretty neat collectibles, and they are still usable as well. Another tool that shows up from time to time, of course, are hand-forged wrenches, which are fairly common. This one's an alligator-style wrench. These are made for use with square nuts. The teeth on this were hand-cut. Filed, kind of hard to tell. It's got a company mark on the handle, but this one's actually kind of neat. Not sure there's another mark there. And just another good collectible hand-forged tool. Here we have another hand-forged hatchet or axe head. This one's a hewing hatchet, in that it's flat on the back side. This is a Pennsylvania Dutch style with the narrow eye at the top. A little bigger at the bottom here. You can see the forge weld line where the bit was applied, although I'm thinking this was rebitted at some point. That does happen. The pole does have some chipping and damage, but this is not a very commonly found axe of this style. This week's flea market segment is actually what I call a 5-minute flea, where I hook up with somebody to pick up tools from them. And I got a pretty good load. There's 6 English molding planes, an 18th century hand-forged iron brace, which I'll be talking about more in another video, some Marple's mortising chisels, Marple's gouges, hand vise, a couple of perfect handle screwdrivers down in here, orphan engraving tool, and a number of these Brocked gouges, along with some other Marple's gouges. Oh, no, pretty good. Oh, yes. Lufkin 6-inch machinist square. Fortunately, Lufkin doesn't get as much respect as Brown and Sharp or Starrett tools do, but I found them to be every bit as good. And heck, in the dark, you couldn't tell the difference. But something to work on for the next week or so. That's all for today, folks. Hope you enjoyed my little video today and learned something. It's been fun making these guys, and I have some great videos planned for the coming year, including a trip to a working blacksmith shop, so we get some scheduling issues worked out. I want to wish everybody a safe and happy New Year's, and Please hit the subscribe button if you like what you're seeing and want to be notified when new videos are released. Thanks.